Another great looking brand new ship is on the way for Elite Dangerous, and this one very much follows the mold of Star Citizen. Just look at that. This is the Type 11 Prospector. It's a Lakon ship, and its primary focus, as you may guess from the name, is mining. It was revealed today on the latest Frontier Unlocked, their official live stream. We've got a few details about it, although not in-depth specification details or anything like that, but more than enough to know exactly what the ship is all about. So like I say, this is a specialized mining ship. It's called the Prospector. Unfortunately, Frontier didn't really give us any indication on the size of the ship, but I suspect this is going to be a large ship. Although don't hold me to that, as I don't believe it was mentioned in the live stream, although I may have missed it. Let me know if I did let that slip by. Now, the interesting thing about this is not just the ship, it's this new mount. This is a mining hardpoint, and Frontier won't reveal exactly what it does, but they hint it's going to be a new type of mining, and something that is unique to the Prospector. They did suggest that the hardpoint is very much drill-like, so maybe that is a bit of a hint as to how it will function and how it will impact the new type of mining. As for the ship itself, well, it's very clearly a utilitarian, rugged-looking ship, very much in keeping with the Type 8, and for what it's worth, I do really like this. I think it's certainly along the lines of one of the better looking ships in Elite Dangerous. Frontier have said this is part of their new design philosophy, kind of moving away from many of the traditional shaped ships and instead going for something completely different. You can see that the cockpit on this ship is off-center, and to the right of the cockpit is where the mining hardpoint deploys from. This means it will be very much visible from the cockpit, especially if you're using VR. And Frontier describe it as a pretty impressive looking aesthetic when you're using this hardpoint to go mining. And on that note, you may have noticed the pistons around the engine blocks. Frontier confirmed that these pistons do actually function, that the engines will move, and the ship can therefore move into different configurations. These configurations reflect the mode the ship is operating in, for example, whether it's flying around as it is here or whether it's landing. They also seem to hint there will be a third function for this ship, and maybe, just possibly, it will move into another configuration again, and I'd imagine if so, that would be for mining. And again, that hardpoint we looked at a little bit earlier on, that will only fit on the Type 11. It will not be compatible with any other of the ships in Elite Dangerous. Of course, this will also very likely be one of those early access ships which we have to pay ARX for, and then a few months down the line, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, it will be available in-game for in-game credits. They haven't specifically stated that just yet, but it would follow the same pattern we've seen with all the other ships they've released over the past few years or the past few releases. Now, what really intrigues me about this particular ship is this whole concept of mining. It seems that Frontier may not just be diving in and allowing this to be a regular mining ship with just regular functioning, but there may possibly be a new type of mining. This, however, could be interpreted in a number of different ways. Firstly, if you remember back around about the Beyond expansion in 2018 or thereabouts, Frontier released a new mining overhaul. This introduced completely new mining such as deep core mining and subsurface mining, where not only did we interact with asteroids in a completely different way, but we also got new types of resources out of the asteroids. So that is one way to interpret a new type of mining, that just maybe Frontier will add another version of mining into the already existing categories. This in essence would add a new gameplay loop and also perhaps bring with it new types of resources. So yeah, like I say, that is one interpretation. The other interpretation is far more simple. It would mean that this new type of mining function is purely for the ship itself, but it still works in terms of existing mining functions. That essentially you'll still be shooting the asteroid with a mining laser and getting the same elements, the same resources out of the asteroid. The difference would be in how this hardpoint operates. So that's two different interpretations I can take away. One that would add a new gameplay, one that would add a new operator mode. Let me know what you think about this. Which version do you think is the most likely angle that we could expect to see? Or perhaps there's a third angle that I haven't even considered. Let me know in the comments section. And again, just for further clarification, Frontier didn't mention any release date yet, but they did mention that it should be releasing in the autumn. Talking of release days, we've also got another one. This is going to be late August. It's the next big expansion for Elite Dangerous, and that is Elite Vanguard. Now, we've spoken about all of that before, but if you're new to this and haven't caught up just yet with what Vanguard is all about, it is a new free update coming to Elite Dangerous in around about a month or so. if they can hold to that schedule, and this will completely overhaul what we once saw as squadrons. This is effectively guilds for Elite Dangerous. These were implemented into the game a few years back, and it turns out at the time they were pretty shallow, not really going the whole hog and delivering all the functionality that either Frontier wanted or the players. But fortunately, Frontier have had the opportunity to circle back round on this and, well, do some redevelopment work and basically completely overhaul how squadrons are going to work. There's a lot of details to this. There is a full-on video I've released a little while ago on that, and I'll be sure to link that on the screen right here. Do be sure to check it out because this is worth having a look at. And in my opinion, this is really Frontier's attempt at moving Elite Dangerous toward being a more of a full-on MMO, at least in the traditional sense. Another thing that's going to be arriving with Vanguards is the idea of squadron-owned carriers. These carriers will be larger than the individually owned fleet carriers. They're quite a bit bigger, and they'll also have a higher capacity. What's more, they won't just be owned and controlled by an individual, but rather the highest ranks in the squadron. Or, that said, is it more correct to say Vanguards rather than squadrons? I'm not quite sure on that specific detail. Let me know what you think about that. So yeah, with the ability for the higher ranking members of the Vanguard to essentially control the fleet carrier, that will include jumps, how it's stocked and how it operates. We got quite a lot of good opportunities here. Throw into the mix the previous update, which basically saw Trailblazers, the population and colonization of star systems under player guidance, and then we got the Panther Clipper Mark II, the largest capacity cargo ship ever released for Elite Dangerous, and a much anticipated ship, in fact, something that people have been waiting for a very long time. And now on top of all that, we've got the Prospector, another new ship, and one which hopefully may introduce a new element to an area of the game, mining, that a lot of people really do enjoy. So yeah, a good year for Elite Dangerous so far. We're only a little over halfway through. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the game heads next. Now, we did have a bit of a roadmap earlier on in the year. I do believe there's still another ship yet to be revealed for this year. That one would likely be releasing in the winter. On top of that, there's another feature update. This one we haven't got any details on whatsoever, but it is going to be a brand new feature that, hopefully, fingers crossed, is something we haven't yet seen in the game. The last time Frontier said something like that, we ended up with the Trailblazer update, which was colonization. I know, many of you will be hoping for something that I'm hoping for too. That would be ship interiors. Higher up on my personal list, the thing that's always been at number one on my list would be atmospheric planets, but I think that may probably be a bit too much of a hope. Either way, the game is certainly heading in a very good direction. Let me know what you think about the Type 11 Prospector, because I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on that. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. There is another one on the screen right here. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.